Hi, if you like the video, please remember to subscribe. Hi, I'm Rob from robandphoto.com, and I thought I'd do a quick video about my Minolta SRT 101 kit and what's in the bag. I'm currently doing a little project with trying out various Ilford films, and I'm going to be putting HP5 plus 400 into the SRT 101, so I thought it might be an opportunity to do a nice quick little video to show you the kit that I've got. So if you're shopping around the car boot sales, the thrift stores, the charity shops or eBay, this might be something that you think about building up on. So first, the camera. I'll tell you what, let me take this filter off. What have we got here? Well, this is the Minolta SRT 101, built in the late 60s, early 70s. Very, very strong camera, built like a tank. It's a fully clockwork camera with a light meter as well. So what that means is there's automatic nothing. You have to enter everything in. There's no aperture priority, no shutter priority, no automatic mode. What you have to do is set, maybe see on there, set your ASA of your film or the ISO of your film. You can set your shutter speed just like that, and you can also set your aperture on the lens just like that, and obviously set your focus on the lens as well. But how do you know what combination of ISO, shutter speed and aperture to use? Well, your ISO is obviously set by your film, so we're really talking about shutter speed and aperture. Well, you could use a additional multimeter, light meter, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it has a built-in light meter as well. I don't think you'll be able to see. Can we see through the viewfinder? No, but basically what there is on the bottom of the camera, you'll see this little switch thing here that says BC for battery check, off and on. So you put it to BC, and there's a little needle in the window. Imagine if you look through, a little needle that goes dunk next to a little mark, so you know the battery's okay. And then when you go to on, there's like there's a needle with a magnifying glass on it. And then as you change your shutter speed, dunk, 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 this needle with a magnifying glass kind of goes up and down depending on the shutter speed, and then you've got to get the other needle to line up with it, and that will tell you you should be getting a correct exposure. Obviously, wind on, nice and mechanical. To get into to change the film, pull that up there. But again, it's all metal, bulletproof camera. Go on for years and years these things, as long as you don't drop them too many times. In fact, I think the only thing that's missing from this one is the little plastic cover for the wind on. What else have we got in the front? There's a depth of field preview button as well, so you can flick that over. No, sorry, mirror lockup. I don't think that's mirror lockup, that actually. Yeah, you can have mirror lockup. You've got a shutter delay. Depth of field preview is that button there, so that's where it tightens up the aperture. And then on the top, we've actually got a cold shoe, so there's no electronic connections there at all. So if you're using flash, you'd have to use an X-Sync cable going through that. Means you could do wireless flash as well, couldn't you, with that sort of stuff. So there we go. So that's the main body of the camera. So it's fully manual, all clockwork. Uses underneath there, actually, you'll see some very old mercury type cells, which are difficult to get hold of now. But again, because it's a manual type camera, even if it has no power in the batteries at all, it doesn't make a difference. The camera still works perfectly, and you just use another light meter, or you can just guess using the Sunny 16th rule. Shutter speeds are from bulb, so that's where you press the button, shutter, and it stays open until you let it go. In fact, if I did it in the right place, bulb is, where's bulb? Show what that's a thousandth of a second, sorry. Then we go all the way around to bulb. We hold it, and then it will release that way. So, for example, this film I'm going to be using now is 400 speed film, which is reasonably fast, but because the maximum shutter speed is only a thousandth of a second, in bright conditions outside, I'll have to be careful if I'm using wide apertures, not to blow it out and overexpose the shots. Now onto the star of the show. This camera I picked up from the car boot sale about 3-4 years ago for the princely sum of £5 in its current form, apart from this filter on the front. And this lens, I don't know whether you can see that on the front of there, is a 50mm f1.4 Rockall lens, which is an amazing lens, incredibly sharp. And what that f1.4 means is that it has a very big maximum aperture, lets in loads and loads of light. Your average zoom lens on your kit camera for a DSLR is normally, it starts off at f3.5, and you can actually see physically the size of the hole. If I take the lens off, you see that? Should probably move the bag out of the way. There we go. Look at that. Look how big that hole is. Absolutely massive. So you can imagine the amount of light that lets through. So that's perfect for. So there's the tightest aperture. Only go down to f16 though, don't go up to f22 maximum. Perfect for low light situations. But what we're always really interested in is depth of field, isn't it? Because you can get that fantastic, very, very tight depth of field. As I say, on a camera that cost me, you know, a £5 from the car boot, you can't really beat that, can you? So, standard 50mm lens, and now remember, although we're used to dealing with DSLRs that have crop sensor cameras, this is a full 35mm, so 50mm is the standard view, kind of similar to what you would see with your eyeball. The standard 50, the nifty 50, was the lens that was given away with most cameras many years ago, but it's all zooms now. But this one being the f1.4 is sort of that stop faster, very, very nice lens indeed. So that's the camera itself. I think we've sort of covered all the bases there. If you see one at a camera shop, or a thrift store or car boot sale, what you really want to be checking is, does the shutter work? You know, does it sound like it changes speed? You know, if you set it to, you know, like 1 second, does it sound like 1 second? I mean, that one does, doesn't it? And then if you go up to a 500th of a second, does it sound? So you know the shutter's probably in good nick, so that's good. And the other thing that you want to check is with lenses, you look in them, so you're looking for fungus and scratches and stuff like that. I mean, if it's a cheap camera, I mean, if it's got a few marks on the lenses, who really cares? But what you're really interested in is whether the aperture rings work. So as you're clicking through on the different apertures, does it change, or does it get stuck? Because often the lubricants that make these aperture blades slide past each other, after 30-40 years they've gone all sticky, and it's quite a tricky job to take a lens apart and fix it. But as you can see, this one's nice and smooth, and obviously is the focus ring nice and smooth as well. Now these old Minolta, I think they're called the MC fit lenses, are a bayonet type fitting, which unfortunately isn't compatible with the newer Sony cameras. Sony bought all the Minolta gear a few years ago, so you could say like the Sony Alphas are the direct descendants of cameras like this. But what Minolta did when they went to autofocus, they changed their lens system in the same way that Canon did, but Nikon didn't. You can still use these old lenses on your new DSLRs, but you have to buy an adapter that goes in between, and you lose this. And then you sometimes lose a little bit of image quality that way as well. So there we go. So there's the camera. Now this rather strange looking filter thing you see on the front, this lens cover, is part of the Kokin A filter system, more of which I'll talk about in a minute. But let's have a look, start looking in the bag. What's in the bag? So that's had a 50mm lens. So what I've got in here is a rather nifty Minolta 28mm 3.5. So this is a wide angle lens, so this would be great for landscape, architecture, group shots where you want to keep lots of people in. This one's a little bit slower, f3.5 to f16, but it does give you that extra bit of view, which is great if you're shooting in tighter situations. And remember, these are prime lenses as well, so there's no zoom involved, so they tend to be a little bit sharper than their zoom equivalents. And again, I've got a Kokin system on that one. Interestingly though, with this particular lens here, with the 28, you can't use the big Kokin lens hood, because it actually vignettes quite heavily and you see that in the photographs. So put that to one side. And then we also have this little beauty here, and this is a Minolta MC Rocker 135mm lens. So this is a real telephoto lens, has a built-in lens hood, f3.5. So, you know, it's a reasonable lens, and this one goes down to f22. 135mm, great for getting closer for wildlife, portrait shots, incredibly flattering as well. Again, another prime lens, so very, very sharp, nice lens, not too heavy. All these lenses are built like tanks, you know, they're all metal, as long as you don't drop them too often. Again, if you see one, do the usual tricks like I said before. Do the aperture blades, open and close all the way, nice and smoothly, so it doesn't get stuck. And there's the focusing ring, and then you're looking for scratches and fungus. Never be put off by scratches on the front lens unless it's like completely opaque. Because they won't make very much difference at all to your photographs. Scratches on the back can do, but as you can see in this one, you know, there's a long way to that rear element. Fungus inside can be a problem, tends to make the photographs a little soft. But what do you expect for a lens that's probably 40 years old? So there's the three lenses that I've got for my SRT 101. We've got the 50 standard, we've got the 28 wide, and we've got 135mm telly. But just in case I fancy doing something a little bit longer, I do have a... have I got? No, I haven't. What I've got here is a teleconverter. Now what a teleconverter is, it's basically a pair of specs for your camera that magnifies whatever lens you've got on there. So this is a 2x teleconverter. So if I take off my 50mm lens here, and I put on my teleconverter, so teleconverter's gone on, and then I put on I don't do this very often, as you can probably tell. There you go. So now, because I'm using a 2x teleconverter, this 135mm lens is actually a 270mm lens, which, as you can imagine, brilliant, gets you really close to the action. You do lose a lot of light though when you're using teleconverters, and what you'll notice about this one, which is rather cool, is it has all the little bits. If it's locked into place, there we go. It does have all the little bits to transfer the aperture. So as I'm changing the aperture, that does sort it all out inside the camera as well. So there we go. So that's a teleconverter. To be honest, I haven't actually used it very much at all, because I don't tend to use my film cameras for things like wildlife photography, because you've got to take lots and lots of photographs. But it's there. It's in my bag. Should I wish to lose it. Now, what else have we got in here as well? Now I mentioned the fact that the SRT 101 has an internal light meter, but I've also, just in case that light meter fails, I've got a handheld light meter, an old Leningrad 4. Dead easy to use with these. All you've got to do, see that little needle moving there, and it's just going to an exposure value, so it's gone to just above 3. So then you see down here, well, let's see, I've set my film speed to 400, so I just move that to 3. I can let go of that, and then on the top here, in case you saw that, so we had 3 above there. I'd turn this dial here, so it's 3 at the bottom, and then what I've got here is all the different sort of aperture and shutter speed combinations. So in here, if I wanted to shoot at f1.4, I'll be looking at about 250 of a second. If I was shooting f16, it would be 2 seconds, so I'd have to use a tripod. Very useful little tool. As you can see, what I had to do with this is, because I'm inside, you have to kind of pull that lever back to get the lower readings. There's also a little cover here. Now I understand, I'm not quite sure, these little covers, you put them on if you want to use it as, instead of a reflective light meter where you're measuring the light reflected off your subject, as an incident light meter, so you're measuring light falling on a subject, but I've never used it like that. I don't know how effective that would be. I've got a rather posh Minolta incident light meter that I would use in that sort of situation. So there we go, so there's that. Let's pop that back in the bag. And what else have we got in here? A couple of spare lens caps just in case, and then several rolls of film as well that we do that way. And then in this drawer, this is where we have all the goodies. Nice little lens cleaning cloth. Now, close-up kit. There's lots of ways of doing macro photography. You can use extension tubes and all this sort of stuff. Now, close-up lenses are brilliant because they're dead easy and dead quick. So if I want to do any macro photography, this is a 2 times, I think, a +2, so it makes your subject twice as close. What I can do, I can take my 50mm lens, if we take that off, and all I do is screw that onto there. Oops. And now I've got a macro lens. Nice and easy, nice and cheap, and they work a lot better than you'd expect. Results are very good indeed. Let's pop that back in there. So that's a Hoya +2 lens. And then there's an abundance of filters. Now, we were kind of looking at the Koken filter system. Now, with the Koken filter system, instead of having to keep on screwing off filters, what you do, let's just look for an example of one. Say this filter, which is a grad. All you've got to do, see that's a grad, see how it's darker at the top, clear at the bottom? All you've got to do is slide that into there, and you've got your filter, and then you can adjust it up and down, obviously the angle that way. And I've got grads, I've got star filters, I've got coloured filters. When you're shooting with black and white photography, one of the things that you want to do is often darken skies and things like that. So what you would use is like a red filter. There we go, there's a red filter. So if you use a red filter on a sunny day, that will darken skies very, very well. So there we go, there it is, there's my Minolta SRT 101 camera bag with all the kit and everything in that way. Thanks for watching.